Listening Library presents High School Musical, the Encore Edition. Adapted by N.B. Grace. Read for you by Stacy Gonzalez.
Chapter 1. It was a magical New Year's Eve at a vacation resort in the mountains. Gleaming white snow covered the ground, stars sparkled in the crisp, clear air, and everyone was beginning to get in the party mood. Everyone, that is, except Troy Bolton and his father, Jack, who were still on the basketball court playing one-on-one. They were covered with sweat, but they were having too much fun to stop. Troy had the ball, and he was doing a good job of getting around his dad. After all, Troy was on the high school basketball team. Not only that, he was the team captain. He had the smooth moves and explosive action of a real star. But Jack was more than just Troy's dad. Jack was also the basketball team's coach. So Mr. Bolton gave his son advice as they played. "Keep working left, Troy," Mr. Bolton said. "The guy guarding you in the championship game won't expect that. You'll torch him." Troy nodded, breathing hard. "By going left," he said, "he'll look middle. You take it downtown," his dad and coach explained. Troy nodded again. "Like this?" He spun past his father, jumped, and sunk a reverse layup. The ball whistled cleanly through the basket. Nothing but net. His father grinned. "Sweet." Troy grinned back. Nothing felt better than playing basketball when you were in the groove. They could have played all night, but just then Troy's mom walked into the gym. She was wearing a sequined party dress and clearly had things other than b-ball on her mind. "Boys, hello," she called. Once she got their attention, she went on. "Did we really fly all this way to play more basketball?" Troy and his father glanced at each other slyly. They knew she didn't really want an answer to that question, but they gave her one anyway. In perfect unison, they shrugged and said, "Yeah." Mrs. Bolton gave an exasperated sigh. "It's the last night of vacation." "The party? Remember?" Actually, they had both totally forgotten the big New Year's Eve party that the resort was holding, but they knew it wasn't wise to admit that. "Oh, right, Mr. Bolton said quickly. "New Year's Eve." He hesitated, then asked, with some fear, "Do we have to wear funny hats?" "Absolutely," she said firmly. "And we're due in half an hour. Troy, they have a kids' party downstairs in the freestyle club." "Kids' party?" Troy protested. That made him sound like a toddler. "Young adults," his mom quickly amended. "Now go shower up." With heavy sighs, Troy and his father did as she said. As Troy took one last glance at the basketball court, he thought, the championship game is in a couple of weeks. I should be practicing, not going to some stupid kids' party. Besides, how much fun could hanging out with a bunch of kids possibly be? Meanwhile, in another part of the lodge, another mother was about to tear her daughter away from a different fascinating activity. Gabriella Montez was comfortably curled up in an overstuffed chair in the sitting area. She was enjoying the peace and quiet. Everyone else was already at the party and had totally lost herself in a book called If You Only Knew Me. It was the best book she had read since the last book she checked out of the library, and she couldn't wait to get to the end. However, she didn't even get to the next page. The book was lifted right out of her hands, and she looked up to see her mother standing over her. "Gabby, it's New Year's Eve," Mrs. Montez said. "Enough reading." "But Mom, I'm almost done, and—" Gabriella protested. Her mother just shook her head. "There's a teen party," she said firmly. "I've laid out your best dress. Go." Gabriella eyed her mother's sparkly party dress and sighed. She knew when she was defeated. She nodded, but asked, "Can I have my book back?" Her mother handed it over, and Gabriella headed toward her room to change. As soon as she was out of her mom's sight, however, she opened the book and began reading as she walked. She might have to go to some stupid teen party, she thought, but she didn't plan to turn her brain off until the very last minute. A short time later, Troy and Gabriella were in the teen club, feeling out of place. It was packed with kids wearing goofy party hats, blowing on noisemakers and laughing. Everyone else seems to be having fun, Troy thought glumly. He had showered and dressed in nice pants and a pressed shirt, but he just wished he was back on the basketball court. In another part of the room, Gabriella sat by herself, wearing black jeans and a cute sweater. I could be back in my room reading, Gabriella thought wistfully. I was just getting to the good part, too. Neither one of them was having any fun at all. Most of the kids in the room were watching a karaoke contest that was in full swing on a raised stage. As two teenagers finished their song, the MC called out cheerfully, "How about that for a couple of snowboarders?" The audience applauded, and the MC started looking around the room, trying to spot anyone else who was willing to sing karaoke to a room full of strangers. Spotlights swirled over the crowd, and the music played even louder to get the partygoers' adrenaline pumping. "All right," the MC said into his mic. "Let's see who is gonna rock the house next." That was the cue. The music stopped. The two spotlights picked out the next karaoke volunteers. One spotlight was on Troy. The other was on Gabriella. Both looked startled and even a little terrified. They shook their heads, but it was no use. The MC jumped into the crowd and pulled them up onto the stage. Troy and Gabriella were mortified. Somehow, they weren't quite sure how it happened. Microphones were put in their hands. There they were, stuck. On stage. The center of attention, and no way to escape. Before either one of them could actually faint or throw up from fear, the music started. Well, here goes, Troy thought with resignation. Might as well make the best of it. He started singing, softly and carefully. He could barely get the words out. It was all he could do to read the lyrics on the screen of the karaoke machine and try to stay in tune. He sang, "Living in my own world, didn't understand that anything can happen when you take a chance." No one seemed to be paying much attention to them. That was a good thing, Gabriella thought. And after all, if this boy was willing to risk public humiliation, she might as well be a good sport and try to sing too. She opened her mouth and began singing. Although her voice was just above a whisper, it was sweet and pure. She sang, "I never believed in what I couldn't see. I never opened my heart to all the possibilities." All right, she thought. I can do this. It's not too terrible. Okay, Troy thought. At least people aren't throwing things at us. Still, they were too nervous to really belt out the song. They kept singing, though, alternating the lines of the ballad. Finally, they looked at each other, hoping for a little help from their partner in embarrassment. As they really saw each other, they both experienced something they never had before. Troy felt a spark of electricity run over his skin. Gabriella felt a warm glow flood through her body. They smiled and, for the first time, began singing to each other. They sang more loudly, more boldly, with more self-assurance. Suddenly, everyone in the room started to notice there was something special going on up on stage. Kids began crowding around the edge of the stage, listening and swaying to the music. And now Troy and Gabriella were starting to enjoy themselves. Their nervousness was forgotten as they smiled into each other's eyes. Before long, they were dancing across the stage and back again, as confident as if they were performing at an arena. As they moved to the music, they never took their eyes off each other. When the song was over, the crowd applauded and cheered. Troy and Gabriella smiled, breathless and a little stunned by what had just happened. Troy leaned over and said, "I'm Troy." Gabriella nodded. "Gabriella." Neither one of them could stop smiling. Both of them felt an excited, fizzy feeling inside, as if the world had just become a lot more fun. Chapter 2. They were still giddy from the excitement of their impromptu performance, so they went for a walk outside.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?